Be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
As Monty would say, do you choose door number 1, 2, or 3 to solve your engine dilemma? Behind door number 1 is repairing your engine. And door number 2 opens to a new car. But behind door number 3 is another alternative. A remanufactured engine can make your car run like new and increase its trade-in value. The cost? $1,200 to $2,500, equivalent to taxes and surcharges alone on some new luxury cars. But just like the TV version of Let's Make a Deal, consider all your options before making your decision. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. The Olympics. Exciting events like track and archery. Well, I know a car fluid that's a gold medal winner in preventing expensive repairs. And when we come back, I'll hit the bullseye.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Move over, Gina Davis, and make way for your car's transmission fluid. Transmission fluid ensures that automatic gears move easily. But if it oxidizes or wears out, it can cause vibrations, expensive to repair. Here's how to test for oxidation. Drive for 20 minutes, then turn your car off. Carefully remove the transmission dipstick and let several drops of fluid fall onto a clean paper towel. Wait 1 minute. If a bullseye appears, your fluid's oxidized. So to keep your car in gold medal condition, change its transmission fluid and filter every 35,000 miles. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. I'm peeking at your daytimer. I see plans for Super Bowl, bedtime stories, and a dead car battery. Aha, got you. Although you're not scheduling a dead battery, when I come back, I'll tell you what to do.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
No one plans dead batteries, but here's how to connect those jumper cables just in case. First, connect one end of the red cable to the positive terminal of the good battery, then the other to the positive terminal of the bad battery. Next, making sure the ends of the black cable don't touch, clamp one end to the good battery's negative terminal, then the other end to an engine block bracket. Remember, never clamp anything on the negative terminal of the bad battery, or more than the Super Bowl will sizzle. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. If you think Matt and Ben's adventures in Dogma are like a bad dream, wait till you hear about car manufacturers' worst nightmare. When I come back, I'll tell you what they lose sleep over.
O'Reilly
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Car manufacturer's worst nightmare is a general recall caused by discovering design defects after vehicles hit the showroom floor. Generally, new car owners are notified by mail, but used car owners must proactively investigate recalls through dealers or the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration in Washington, D.C. Both will ask for your VIN, or Vehicle Identification Number, so be ready. It's located on the lower driver's side windshield or on the driver's door jamb. Remember, don't ignore a recall. It could be a nightmare you won't wake up from. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Also, 888 number is hot. It's open, and Hannah will take your calls. That's 888-227-2546. 888-227-2546. I see that Ron from Virginia has dialed in. So now's a good time to get in early, and when I come back from the break coming up, I will take Ron's car, who has a call, has a 93 Buick with some slow start issues. But let's don't get a slow start. Let's get a fast start. Gas prices. Aha. Same time last week, they're up in every region of the United States. Same time last year, they're up in every region of the United States. The gas prices, $2.74 average. So think about it. What's driving the gas price? Do we have a shortage of oil? I think not. Do we have a shortage of fuel? I think not. So what is driving the price of oil? That's a $74,000 question that I would love to be able to answer that question. I can tell you that Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And remember, if your brakes used to work really well, but it's taking longer to stop, visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Spring Brake Deals event. Take advantage of O'Reilly's Do It Right rebate and get a $20 O'Reilly gift card by mail when you buy a set of Brake Best Select pads and a pair of rotors. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Your calls when I come back.
O'Reilly.
If your vehicle isn't stopping like it used to, visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Spring Brake Deals event. Take advantage of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Do It Right rebate and get a $20 O'Reilly gift card by mail when you buy a set of Brake Best Select pads and a pair of rotors. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The Car Care Council reminds you that April is National Car Care Month. There's no better time to perform a thorough check of various maintenance items: brakes, battery, tires, cooling system, filters, headlights, the exhaust system, are just a few things to consider. Visit carcare.org to find out how you can best keep your car safe, dependable, and on the road longer. It's National Car Care Month. Are you car care aware? Learn more at carcare.org. An '04 Suburban with 256,000 miles recently came into the shop with poor fuel mileage, rough idling cold, and just bad overall performance. No fault codes, but the fuel trim was incorrect. Sensors checked okay, no vacuum leaks, and the engine seemed to be in good shape. Great time for a bottle of Berryman B60 high mileage fuel system cleaner and conditioner. Berryman B60 features HEST, or high energy solvent technology, an exclusive formula that ultimately helps dissolve fuel residue and carbon deposits to restore lost power, reduce rough idle and hesitation, and improve overall drivability. The owner reported back that the fuel economy had increased and the rough idle smoothed out. Berryman B60 is Berryman's strongest formula available. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information on Berryman B60 and all the great Berryman products. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning. Let's get started on this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. All of you folks there from KDET 9:30 a.m. live, local, and reaching out in Center, Texas. Good morning to you. And for our stations and our listeners across the nation, and also for all of you who are on Watch Bobby Live, I wish you a good morning. I hope that you're feeling well today, your car is doing you well, and I hope, more importantly, you're taking care of your automobile. And to that end, that's what I am here for today, to help you understand a little more about what makes your car work. Not that I'm going to teach you to be a technician or mechanic. That's not my goal. My goal, and it's not to fix your car, but it's to give you the buzzwords and help you to maybe communicate on a better, lower, local level, a higher level, on a local level, so that you can understand how to communicate with your service shop. So when you take a car in, you just don't hand them your keys and your wallet and say, oh, make this noise go away. Well, hey, that noise could be a bearing, a brake noise, or an engine knock. or it could be a fan blower motor, or it could be a piece of paper down in the dash. Have you ever done that? Piece of paper down in the dash that falls into the blower cage, you know. And another thing too, and then we're going to go to Virginia and to Ron. But did you ever notice, you wouldn't because you didn't replace air conditioner evaporator cores, but every time we take an air conditioner evaporator core or heater core out of a vehicle, all these leaves and debris are all down inside, and yet the cowl area, which is just the base of the windshield, there's screens there. So how does a leaf get through? How does a leaf that's big as my finger get through a mesh that is an 1/8" mesh? Beats me, but leaves have a way to find their way into places where they do damage. Let's go to Virginia, take a call from Ron, and then Hannah will take your calls at 888-227-2546. Ron, good morning, sir. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm terrific this morning. Yourself?
Okay.
What can I do for you?
By the way, you were spot on when I talked to you about probably 3 weeks ago about a intake gasket on a 93 Buick Century.
Yes, sir.
I've replaced that, and it took care of that problem.
That's great.
But I'm having some slow starts, and I've replaced vacuum lines, even all the way down to the PCV back rubber hose connections.
Right.
And to the fuel pressure regulator and all. I've repaired all those. Now, when I clean the mass airflow sensor with that mass airflow cleaner,
right,
it starts up every time. When I let it sit about 20, 30 minutes, it'll start. But thereafter, it takes up 2 to 3 times before it starts. And I'm getting fuel to the rail because when I press the little pin there,
the Schrader valve, right?
Schrader, right. Mm-hmm. I get gas coming out of that.
Okay, let me ask a question. When you say slow to start, it cranks over fine. It just doesn't. The engine does not light off. Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I've checked all the plugs. I pulled all the plugs.
Well, let's talk about this, Ron. If the engine has compression, which you know it does because it runs and it idles okay, I presume. You didn't say if it didn't. We have fuel. So if we have compression and fuel and spark, then it should maybe 2 or 3 times. You know, some engines characteristically are slower to start than others, but it should light off pretty well. I mean, the 93 Buick, those are good V6 engines. They ran well anyway. So I would be curious. You say you have gas. We know we have compression. So then maybe we don't have the ignition that we should. I'm trying to think of an easy way for you to test for ignition. And I don't know of an easy way without getting shocked. Can you be assured? So help me to understand. If we go out now and fire the car up, it fires okay. So under what circumstance is it slower to start than normal? Because if you go out and try to test it, by the time you get through testing it and you turn it over 3 or 4 times, does it light off but just slow to do that? Or it takes too many cranks to do that. Right. So in the process of testing a spark, it would probably crank up, wouldn't it?
Well, I've noticed that when on a cold start, it seems to start up a little quicker.
Right.
And then when it's warm, after I run it a few minutes,
right,
it's slower starting after it warms up. But I've cleaned the mass airflow sensor twice and let it sit 20, 30 minutes, and it fires right off.
Well, I don't understand that.
I don't either.
No, that's why you called me. Thanks a lot. First call, and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Well, more or less. It's a good morning to you, too. I love you, too. Duh. Well, yeah, you can laugh. I'm the one on the hot seat here. I don't know what's wrong with it, man. All right, okay, now that I've gotten that out of my system, you're telling me, folks, I'm going to get this right.
or I'm going to keep this guy on the phone all day long. You're telling me, Ron, do what?
Maybe it's just a coincidence.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, obviously, if it is a coincidence, you've done it a couple of times. Well, that takes it out of the coincidental range, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let me understand.
Let me help you.
Okay.
Let me help you out real quick.
Please do.
I replaced all the way down to the PCV valve connections too. The rubber hoses there.
Oh yeah.
And at the fuel pressure regulator, which was split, I replaced those and repaired other vacuum leaks.
Here, wait. I got it. Here's not. I don't have it, but I have an idea. When you in older days, when cars had carburetors, people used to say, well, it wouldn't start. And I got out there and I tried it several times, it wouldn't start. So I got out and I flipped that little flout back and forth. You know, the old choke blade. You remember those?
Right.
And then I'd get back in there and the car would start. Well, they didn't. That had nothing to do with it. When people used to tell me that, I used to tell them to get out of the car when it won't crank, do a little dance around and say a couple of magic words and get back in the car that would crank, or open the hood and say, it looks okay to me, and slam it, because what's happening is during the old, or the carburetor days, there would not be enough fuel in the engine to reach the cylinders because the fuel had to evaporate because liquid fuel won't burn. So whatever would go in the intake manifold would have to turn into a gaseous state, and then it would flow into the cylinders like propane gas. That's why propane gas was always so much cleaner than fuel. And those were the days when a lot of raw gas got in the car. So having said that, similarly, what you're doing is disconnecting, and herein lies herein lies the secret. You're taking the intake manifold apart. Maybe there's a bad connection at one end of that duct, that hose that goes from the air box and then feeds the intake manifold. So what you might try to do the next time is don't clean that unit. Just disconnect the pipe and connect it back up, and just for grins, see if that makes it work. And if it does crank, you know that it had nothing to do with spot cleaning the mass air.
Okay.
And then what I would do if I had it, in my shop, I would take a smoke tester, and which we use for the evap systems, and I would smoke test the intake manifold and look for any other vacuum or false vacuum or what have you. Remember, you've had the intake manifold off this vehicle, so you've disturbed all of that. I know you've gone back and replaced most of those things, but vacuum hoses and rubber hoses are just, especially on a 93 model automobile, are just cracked, deteriorated, hardened, and looking for an opportunity to leak. And if you move them, I had that happen to me on a Mercedes I'm working on to fix a rear shade, and I didn't start to. I was going to pop the cover off of this third brake light. It's out of the car. The car's completely torn apart because the shade, it's a long story, I won't go into that, except to say that just because I had the light out, and I said, well, it'd be foolish of me not to put a new bulb in it because I've got it right here on the bench. Now, it was still attached to the hat rack. So I squeezed it, it broke, it shattered because that third brake light had been in the sun. This is an airport car, been parked since 1998 in the airport for this owner. And so ultimately I still haven't fixed it yet because that part's no longer available. But the bottom line, the complete assembly just shattered like you break a raw egg because of the UV rays and what have you, all because I was just going to replace the bulb, which I didn't know if the bulb was bad or not, but hey, I got it out. Why wouldn't I replace it? So you certainly have moved a lot of things. Go back, recheck your work. Do take that pipe apart and don't clean. But did you unplug? One last question. I got a break coming up. Did you unplug the mass air to clean it, or just hold it up?
I did. I unplugged it.
Okay. Well, maybe there's a problem with the plug, and try that. Except don't clean it. Go back through exactly what you did that would make it light off, and see if by disconnecting it or by moving the air intake that you could indeed cause the same thing to be fixed. I'll be back, folks. Motorrad, a longtime OE supplier, is the leader in automotive thermostats and fuel and oil coolant caps. Motorrad's state-of-the-art quality control and functional testing systems ensure high-quality, long-lasting products. Motorrad delivers world-class product development, providing all the parts and accessories needed to do the job right the first time, every time. Motorrad offers the best coverage of thermostats and closure caps in the world for virtually any vehicle and engine on or off the road. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service.
I am for the child who lives in motels, cars, and shelters. The child finally put in foster care, a group home, where he sleeps not on a bed, but a temporary cot. That is the child I am for. And because I am, he'll be that much more likely to find a safe, permanent home. I am a court-appointed special advocate volunteer. I am you.
Lift up a child's voice, a child's life. Get involved at casaforchildren.org.
Folks, as winter comes to an end and spring begins, the Car Care Council reminds you that April is National Car Care Month. Time to get your vehicle ready for spring driving and summer road trips. Here are a few things you could consider. Your vehicle's tires keep you rolling down the proverbial highway. A few simple checks help extend tire life, improve MPG, and keep you safe. Start with tread depth. Insert a penny head first into the lowest point of the tire tread. If you see the top of Abe's head, you need new tires. Correct tire pressure is also important, as under or overinflated tires wear unevenly. Improper wheel alignment may not seem vital, but misalignment can shorten tire life and pose safety issues. What are the signs? Pulling to one side and a loose or vibrating steering wheel are common symptoms. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove box.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hung. Guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're talking with Ron in Virginia, who has one more question. We got disconnected there during the break, and Ron has a 93 Buick that is slow to start. Ron, I'm going to go back to you, and quickly, I've got a couple more calls. What more can I do for you, sir?
I was just wondering if it could be the crank sensor.
Well, the crank sensor.
And how to test that.
Well, well, I wouldn't test it. I just replace the crank sensor if it's original. It's just not worthy of the time that it would take to test it. Here's a challenge. It could be, except that you told me that you could affect it by cleaning the mass airflow sensor. And so those two are not connected. I mean, they're connected theoretically and electronically, but physically, by you touching or moving or disconnecting the air mass airflow sensor and cleaning it and putting it back together, that would not do anything. Now, I got to say, if you sprayed fuel, not fuel, but if you sprayed cleanser and solvent into the air mass sensor, into that pipe, as you were cleaning the pipe, then put it back together, or you're priming the pump, so you could you can still have a fuel pressure issue or not deliver fuel. It could still be a fuel delivery problem, even though you have fuel in the rail. That doesn't mean you have fuel in the port. You see where I'm going?
Mm-hmm.
So you could take that same you could take the air filter out and spray a little mist in the box and see if that made it light off more quickly. And then you could say, well, gosh, I didn't clean their air mass, but you still sprayed it in the same area. That's if you just lifted it up. If you disconnected the air mass and lifted the pipe up and spritzed it, you're cleaning it, but in essence, you're priming the pump with a flammable, anything you spray in there is going to be flammable. That makes sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. I've done. When you really think that you've got something pinpointed and you really think you know exactly what fixed it, then you should duplicate that and duplicate it. And I've actually installed a part on a car that we'd worked on 2 or 3 weeks and finally said, oh, we finally found it. This is it. And I said, good, put the Owen back on. And we put the Owen back on. Guess what? Car would run. Really? And so electronics can be very... you can chase a lot of rabbits with electronics. Hey, got to go.
Right.
But put a crank sensor on it anyway, and then say a couple of Hail Marys and call me next week, will you?
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome, Ron. Let's go to next on the agenda is Andy in New York. Andy, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How's the weather this morning in New York? Last week I heard it was really cold.
Oh, it's been snowing. Today's the first day we're getting some sun out here. It's about 42, 45 degrees.
Oh, well, hey, you could go out on a picnic.
Just about. It feels like a heat wave.
And it's something. Yeah.
Yep.
The human nature of it, All you have to do is throw us into some zero or a sub-zero weather, and anytime 35, 40 degrees comes along, this is wonderful.
I know, that's bad.
What can I do for you?
I got a question. I'm looking for a new vehicle, and up here, rust is a real big issue with vehicles.
Yes, sir.
And aside from like Z-Bart and that type of undercoating, do you ever have any experience? I know where you guys are, you don't have to worry about it too much, but those electronic rust inhibitors that you hook to the chassis of your vehicle, they claim it eliminates all rust.
It's been 10 years. I picked that 10 years. It's been years since I've heard of those devices. I don't know that. I guess in theory they work. Boats have an anode that attracts all of the corrosion. So that same theory is how those units worked. I don't know. Have you done any research on them, or do you know anyone that's used one?
Yeah, and I get conflicting comments up from both sides. One says they work, and
like Ron and I were talking to start with. Hey, you got a part he's cleaning a mass airflow sensor, and it's making his car start right away. But that's really not what fixed it, or it's not fixed yet. So when you get conflicting stories, the chances are it doesn't work. I mean,
that's all I saw. Like I just did on YouTube too, and that's all they had is nothing but bad to say about that.
Well, I think we as a society are too quick to condemn things, even if they don't work. People will say, "Oh, that'll never work." I mean,
Right.
I mean, I could go back to and I don't want to get into the ethanol issue, but I could talk about ethanol, and people, "Oh, that stuff is really bad." Well, yeah. Henry Ford's first car in 1896 ran 100% ethanol, and America's first flex fuel car ran ethanol, 1908 Model T. So I mean, really, so you get a lot of conflicting opinions, but when
I think it was moonshine back when they ran it.
Well, yeah, that stuff is really bad. Really. Well, before you put that nasty gasoline in it, it's 200 proof alcohol. You can drink it. Well, so Andy, I think if it were mine, I don't know that I would trust that electric anode thing. What I would do is use tons of water to wash and flush away. If I had a new car, I would have the dealer perform whatever service they have on it, but you've got to make sure that if they do use the wand and go in through the doors and coat the inside of the doors, that every single drain hole in that vehicle that comes in it from the factory is still open, because if you stop up a drain hole, well, then you're defeating the purpose, because the water can't get out. Yeah, and I'm sure that in your neck of the woods, that would be a pretty simple job. Now, having said that, recently we had a Jeep that came in the shop, and there's a local accessory place here, Mike Ryan. and he runs a really good business, and his number one manager there is Preston. And whenever I need some information about aftermarket race parts or what have you, or accessories or that we don't do in our shop as a rule, I'll call Preston. And so one day we had a Jeep in, and they had just done an undercoating on this Jeep, and they got some undercoat on the drive shaft. So I looked at it, and I called Preston. He said, "Bobby, if you'd seen that vehicle," he said, "that vehicle must have come from Canada, or he said it was the most rusted out." He said the owner wanted all of that to go away, and he said, "I'm not surprised we splattered a little bit on the drive shaft," and but the bottom line, they really did a great job. But I got to thinking, if you put too much on it, then it will obviously spray on to certain parts of the car that you really didn't need it to be and shouldn't be.
Right.
So I think that, and I said all that to say that a good initial prep or service when the vehicle is new, I think is the only way to start. But if you're already beyond that with your vehicle, and you're not talking about a vehicle here, you're just talking about, you know, the treating the vehicles, I think the old-fashioned way that I do almost every week personally with my car, tons and tons of water. Flood that and then dry it. And then I have found that my wheels will spot, because see, water out of the hose is bad stuff. I mean, you know, it really is. It's minerals and all that's chlorine and what have you, and it will spot a car if you leave it on there. So every time I wash my car, I detail it to include door jambs, rubbers, windshield area, inside, outside, trunk, and those sorts of things. And I use a battery-powered blower to blow my wheels. Otherwise, you could never, because there's so many spokes and what have you. They're not wire wheels, but they're 20-spoke wheels, 20-inch wheels, and I have to use a blower. And if it weren't for that, I don't know what I'd do. It'd be too much. Anyway, I got to go.
Thank you, Bobby.
I don't know that I would do your research, but don't believe what you necessarily see on the internet.
Right. Well, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and congratulations on the hot weather.
Oh, thanks. Don't say that too loud, because it'll rain for a week now.
Okay, I got you. Take care. See ya. Take care, Andy. Who's up next? Dick. Let's go to Dick. Dick, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You've got an 09 Buick with, welcome. What's your challenge?
Well, my windshield fogs up, and I've heard you advertise that it might be blowing some coolant or something up through the air conditioner.
Yeah, heater core. Are you losing any coolant at all? And do you smell any sweetness, or that coolant has its own little odor?
I haven't noticed anything, and I haven't noticed losing coolant, but I just wonder if it isn't, just a fine mist or something.
Well, where's it coming from?
Well, I don't know.
Well, my car doesn't do it.
Now, mine there, first car I've ever had that did it too.
Well, you've got the makings of a leak. Have you checked the coolant recently?
Not really.
Yeah. Okay. Well, really, that's the thing to do. Check the coolant, and understand this: you must check the coolant either totally cool or totally hot, because
you're cutting out on me.
Can you hear me now?
Well, there's a static in the background.
Oh, too bad. Sorry about that. We got a bad connection. Well, you must check the coolant in the reservoir with the engine totally cold, like it sits overnight, or totally hot. You don't have to open it. You should be able to see through the container and see where the level is. And that level should stay where it is. You should just, if you have no leaks, you will not have to add to the cooling system, because it expands and contracts, and it goes into the system and back into the system. So if I were you, yeah, it is a bad connection. Wow. Now I've got you. Dick, do you still have me? Yeah, that is one of those little, wow, we better put some automotive repair on that telephone line. Yes, a digital system. That is really strange. Well, Dick, I will say I'll hang up, because you can listen to your radio there. If the cooling system is leaking, here's the answer and here's the solution. If the cooling system in your Buick is leaking so small amount but it's still fogging the windshield, put a bottle of K-Seal in it. It won't hurt. It will stop the leak if it's minor or even major. That stuff is really good. It's K-Seal. And that will get you to the next lily pad, which could be permanent. It will be permanent. Hey, folks, the electric vehicle and charging infrastructure that General Motors has started a couple of years ago, Maven, you may have heard me talking about Maven. Well, I've got Kelly Helfrich in the queue, and I see that Mike and Don are in the queue. So Mike, I've got Kelly coming up, and then we're going to go to Don, and then we're going to go from Don to Mike. So you guys stay there. And folks, now is a perfect time to call in, 888-227-2546. And we're going to talk with Kelly and find out a little bit about the electric vehicle and charging infrastructure with Maven. That's GM's car sharing service. It's really really cool. I have some questions I'm going to ask her that I think you will be interested in. So I'll be back after the break. Don't touch that dial. Folks, recently we had a water pump fail on a 5-liter V8 with only 49,000 miles. The car's owner told us his dealer had actually replaced the car's original pump at 6,500 miles due to a factory TSB. But why would it fail again only 43,000 miles later? Had to be something strange going on here. We called our local O'Reilly Auto Parts contact and asked him to locate the latest design water pump available if such a water pump existed. And it did. The new pump was 2-piece where the old one was 3. So the center plate, the part that failed twice, was totally eliminated. Problem solved, vehicle updated, customer happy. You know, in our automotive repair world, we're challenged every day to do the job right first time. So you might imagine how terrific our whole service team felt delivering a repaired vehicle back to its owner in better condition than it was brand new. Hats off to our parts professional and our team. This car repair spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but morning's knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Get ready to call 888 Car Clinic and I'll help you solve your car challenges. Folks, tomorrow, April 22nd, marks Earth Day. Maven, General Motors' personal mobility brand and car-sharing app, will offer $5 off all reservations booked tomorrow on Earth Day, April 22nd, 2018, with a promo code GREEN2018. Over the past 2 years, Maven has established the largest North American fleet of electric vehicles with more than 9 million all-electric miles driven for an estimated 327,000 plus gallons of gasoline saved. Recently, the brand has launched an all-electric fleet of 20-Bolt EVs in the Austin, Texas area for freelancers to utilize eco-friendly vehicles for their gig economy jobs. And Maven has partnered with EV Go to expand access to charging of vehicles. Joining us today to discuss the future of car sharing is Kelly Helfrich, Manager of Electric Vehicles and Charging Infrastructure with Maven, GM's car sharing service and mobile platform. That's a long introduction, but I'm really glad to have you in the house. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, Kelly.
Hey, thanks, Bobby, for having me.
Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers how you would define car sharing in today's transportation environment.
Sure. So at Maven, we believe in a world that's made better by sharing. So we have two main products at Maven. The first is called Maven City, which is our traditional car sharing, on-demand car sharing product. And then the second is Maven Gig, which is a program where as a rideshare or a food delivery driver, you can rent a GM vehicle from Maven to use as a tool to complete your kind of gig economy jobs. And so this second program, Maven Gig, is where we've launched hundreds of Bolt EVs across the country, and we're seeing a really huge demand for these all-electric vehicles among these gig economy drivers because people love the efficiency of it. They love the green aspect. And also the rideshare passengers are really excited to get into the back seat of an all-electric vehicle. So it's a win-win all around because it's a zero-emissions vehicle and it's increasing user access to this new type of technology.
So Kelly, has car sharing evolved over the past couple of years, and where and what are GM and Maven doing to take a leadership role in the sharing space? I know that's a big initiative and a forward movement, but after a couple of years here, do you have a role on that?
Sure. So Maven's focused on reducing congestion in urban environments because we know that one car in a sharing system removes 10 off the road. So we've been focused on deploying our Maven City products in key urban markets where we know that the population could really benefit from reduced congestion but still need vehicle access. So they might not need to own a vehicle themselves, but they periodically do need access to a vehicle, so that's where Maven City comes in. We're putting more and more efficient vehicles into that program so people can access green vehicles and use them for hourly errands or their weekend trips. And we see the trend of this car sharing operation really moving toward more and more electric vehicles in the program.
Well, to that end, Kelly, how many vehicles are in the Maven fleet currently, and what percentage, you mentioned EVs, are EVs?
Sure. Well, we have thousands of vehicles across the country, and we're growing the percentage of electric vehicles in our portfolio every day because, like I said, we have seen such a great demand for the vehicle. While I can't share the specific numbers with you, I can say that we're committed to increasing the share of all-electric miles that our fleet travels.
We're talking with Kelly Helfrich, Manager of Electric Vehicles and Charging Infrastructure at General Motors. So, Kelly, what's the value of the EV platform in car sharing?
So the value of EVs in car sharing is really reduced emissions, and also, we at GM are very committed to electrification, and so we're excited about the opportunity to ensure that more and more people have access to these new electric vehicles that we're putting out there on the road. As far as our Bolt EVs that we've deployed in the Maven Gig program, the value of these is immense because on average, each of our Bolts is transporting anywhere from 8 to 10 passengers per day. So you can see how that translates to a lot of kind of general population EV education and awareness.
Well, as we celebrate Earth Day this weekend, tell Car Clinic listeners and viewers how car sharing fits into the equation of going green and responsible transportation.
Sure. Well, it's definitely a perfect fit into going green because one car in car sharing takes 10 off the road, so it helps to reduce congestion. And the more and more efficient vehicles that you put into a car-sharing platform, especially all-electric vehicles, the better off you could be as far as zero emissions goes.
And just one final question, well, maybe a final one or maybe two as the rules go, but share with our listeners about the new partnership with EVgo, and will that ramp up EV deployment across the Maven fleet?
Yes, it absolutely will. So our partnership with EVgo is to ensure that our users have more access to fast charging stations across the country. And those fast charging stations will power millions and millions more all-electric, zero-emission miles. So we're working with EVgo to do a dedicated rollout for Maven Gigable EV drivers, so they always have confidence that they have a place to charge to keep completing their trips and kind of complete their gig economy jobs using the Bolt EV.
Terrific. One final question, Kelly. The website or a website for Maven so that our listeners can get more information.
Absolutely. So we're at maven.com. We have an app you can download. Everything's completed on our app, and wanted to wish everyone a happy Earth Day, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Kelly. Terrific initiative from General Motors, and I remember a couple of years ago when this program first rolled out, it just seems like now the momentum is really taking hold. Thanks again for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel, folks, but the momentum, as I said, is taking hold, and I think it's going to be really something that we're going to see more of in the future. We'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. We'll go to Mike now and take his call as promised, and Hannah will take your calls and put them in the queue, and I'll put you on the air at 888-227-2546. Mike, thanks for waiting there. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby. Listen, I really appreciate all of the information that you put out, and your shop does a fine job. I have that 08 Toyota Avalon that you guys looked at, the one that still has all the stickers and stuff underneath and everything. It's working fine.
Great.
My son is looking to buy a 2012 Audi A4 Premium Plus. It's got something about 13,000 miles on it.
Okay.
It did have one little fender bender thing. It's been repaired. It comes up on the check. Now, he lives in Jacksonville. The car's in Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
He's done some little test checking on it, and this has got that direct injection. So one of the things that he's looking at, again, it's got 13,000 miles on it, which is low mileage. But as far as the intake valve cleaning system, and apparently there is a piece of equipment that goes between the PCV valve and the intake that screens out any pollution that might impact the back of the valves. And also that engine may have a problem at about 80,000 miles with the timing chain tensioner. What can you tell me about that? It's A4 turbocharged 2-liter.
Well, number one, the first thing that I would recommend is every 15,000 miles, and this is an industry standard but not publicly known. And the reason that it's not publicly known is because, for the most part, folks that have an automobile, and we're speaking of direct injection cars here, which is what your son's looking at, which is what I drive. The biggest challenge is the buildup of carbon and pollution from the PCV valve and EGR if it's equipped on the back of the intake valves. And then, of course, the intake port, I call it black lung disease, but the intake plenum and the ports will have a film of oil that you cannot get around. That will happen, and there's not a car made that I'm aware of, including this 2012 Audi that you're talking about, that has a system that will screen out oil vapors, because the very nature, as you mentioned, Mike, the very nature of the PCV system is that it draws the vapors of hot oil from the bowels of the engine, and it puts them into the mouth of the engine so that they can be burned versus putting into the atmosphere, which is pollution. So having said that, what I would do is I would recommend a very powerful cleaning agent something like, if you heard me mention, Berryman products, that B60, which is the most powerful stuff they have, and that would give you a stronger solution that every 15,000 miles you could clean out that system. I serviced my intake system at 34,000 miles when I did all my fluids and what have you, bumper to bumper on my car. And now I'm at 52,000 miles, and I'm waiting for another 8,000, and which is going to be coming up. And when that happens, I'm going to do the same thing again. My car really runs well, but nonetheless, I know that if I don't continue to be proactive and clean the intake system, that it's going to accumulate a certain amount of oil, and oil, when you turn the engine off at night, whatever their oil is, as you know, it's going to turn into a solid because it'll coke up. And then eventually, when it builds up enough, it blocks the airways, and it's just like having pneumonia. I mean, it does. It instead of getting air, you've got, you got a blockage there. So I said all that to say, with regard to that particular car, that car is not the only one that has an intake manifold pollution problem and issue, even if it only has 12,000. How many miles on it?
About 13,000.
Well, even at 13,000 miles, there's a certain amount of buildup. So I would use the B60, the Berryman B60, at 15,000 mile intervals, and that's something that I think, true, there's a machine that we use, but there would be a way that he could perform that service himself if I had a conversation one-on-one with him. And that's for
mechanical engineer, and he has access to all kinds of equipment, and he can make whatever type of a pressurized application system with the small enough jet and a high enough PSI to be able to modify the system to be able to just plug in and spray it.
Agreed.
100 PSI or whatever.
Well, agreed.
Superfine spray.
Well, it would be 30. It wouldn't be 100. But nonetheless, he and I can have that conversation offline at a future date. So I'll be happy to do that during the week one time. I'll be glad to take any calls. Now, having said that, back to the timing chain issue. If he is religious about the oil changes and uses synthetic, which the car calls for, he should not have a timing chain issue at 80,000 miles. But I have to tell you, my car has the noisiest chains in the world, and other than when I first fire the engine until the pressure builds up, and other than putting an accumulator on my engine, which I don't intend to do because I don't want to plumb it, I just, there's no room to really safely plumb it, because when you're breaking into the oil pressure of an engine, or you're getting into the aorta, the main aorta of the engine, you've got to have you've got to have your equipment that's bolted to the car. You got to have a rubber hose going to the engine, because anything connected to the engine and the car has to have a rubber connection, because the engine moves around a lot. So that's just not, I'll put up with the noise, but I will tell you, it freaks me out every time I crank that car, and it's not getting more silent, it's getting noisier. And I change my oil maximum 7,000 miles. But and it's not a question of changing the oil. It's not a question of what brand of oil, synthetic, yes, but it's a question of the design of the engine. So I don't know that he won't have problems at 80,000. I would be surprised if he did, given his nature and given the fact that he's a mechanical engineer and understands the being proactive in maintenance on the car. I think the best thing for him to do, if it's a good car, and the little fender bender, so what? That's not a big deal. If he can get a good buy and he likes the car and it's a good price, then I see no reason, not to buy it. They're great cars. They're expensive to repair, so make sure he's proactive on the car.
I'll check with Ivan and just see if the asking price is reasonable.
Yeah, okay,
and Ivan
that'll
can
work.
tell me.
Yeah, sure.
And that'll work out. He's not quite as anal with cars as I am, and I'm probably almost as anal as you are.
Oh, okay. Thanks a lot, my friend. Hey, thanks for your call. There you go,
Bye.
folks. What a great first hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you this morning in part by the Car Care Council, reminding you, folks, that April is National Car Care Month. You can visit carcare.org for a number of fantastic tools, including tips, videos, service schedules, and more. And here's the more. Just this week, I get a note from the Car Care Council in my email and says, your car is due for service. I said, really? And I know how many miles, and sure enough, my car has like 54,000 miles, and at 55, because I signed up to the carcare.org site, it's time for service. How cool is that? You can do the same thing. Go to carcare.org. Another hour coming up. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Berryman's B12 Chem Tool features HEST, or High Energy Solvent Technology, which helps maximize one-tank cleanup of intake valves, fuel injectors, carburetors, and combustion chambers. But don't take our word for it. According to Kirtland, Berryman B12 Chem Tool is an essential tool for all my engine needs. I keep a can around to keep the carbs clean on my tractor, lawnmowers, and especially my 68 Camaro. This is an awesome product. You can learn more about Berryman products and their HEST technology at berrymanproducts.com.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning. Welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Also, the 888 number is alive and well, as is Miss Hannah. She will take your call and put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. We already have 3 calls and haven't even kicked off this hour yet. 888 227-2546. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part today by Super Chips and the new Flash Pack F5 Performance Tuners. You can add horsepower in minutes without even turning a wrench. Drive over to superchips.com for more information. 888-227-2546. I think it's very interesting about internal combustion engines and carbon buildup and all of that gook that does clog the airways of a vehicle, whether it's the intake ports or the intake manifold, or in some cases, most later model automobiles, the dual plane intake manifold, where you have an intake manifold that has multiple length runners, or at least 2 length runners, and you have doors that open and close electronically to allow that engine to have more torque, because the length of the runner is it's all about the torque of the engine and miles per gallon. So it's really interesting to me, and I know to you. And when we come back, we're going to take our first call from Australia. And I see Oregon and Texas is in the queue. 888-227-2546. Can't wait. We recently sat down with Johnson Controls Global Brand Manager Joe Meyer to discuss the advantages of AGM batteries. Joe touched on why many of today's vehicles are better suited for this technology. Let's hear from Joe.
Certain attributes that make your vehicle a good candidate for an AGM battery really depend on the electrical demands that are placed on the battery within your vehicle, as well as potentially the vehicle application, such as start-stop. Most vehicles manufactured in recent years actually contain more than 150 electrical accessories, including backup cameras, navigation systems, even power windows, which are part of our everyday lives. Our AGM batteries are manufactured to meet these electrical demands. Additionally, if you have something in your car such as start-stop technology, you need an AGM battery to help ensure you are effectively powering your vehicle during this stop event.
Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries, which are precision engineered to meet the electrical demands we put on today's vehicles. Learn more at autobatteries.com. Talking tunes. No, not the ones on your radio. The ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer without even popping the hood. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for Power Tech. Jim touched on another benefit associated with automotive tuning and efficiency. Let's hear how tuning your vehicle can lead to increased fuel economy.
Superchips tuning essentially increases your vehicle's timing. It allows the truck or the car, the SUV or Jeep to run in a higher gear, and it improves the process which we call atomization, which is essentially it turns bulk liquid into spray, and when you achieve this, you increase fuel pressure and you increase your fuel economy. So as a result, you can run the vehicle in a higher gear with advanced timing, and you get a more complete burn. We've done extensive road and dyno testing to validate these claims, and it really impacts the bottom line for the consumer with the Superchips Flash Pack.
Find your perfect tune at superchips.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I want to welcome KKLS, that's 104.7 FM and 920 AM in Rapid City, South Dakota. We're live from 10 till noon Eastern Time every Saturday. And I want to welcome another new Car Clinic affiliate, KDET, in Center, Texas, 9:30 AM. Live, local, and reaching out. in Center, Texas. So you folks get on the phone. 888 Car Clinic is the number. We're going to dedicate this hour totally to calls. We first go to Australia. Frank, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How's the weather down under?
Oh, we had a bit of a bushfire scare, but we're pretty good now.
Well, that's great. Hey, nice to hear from you again. I see Hannah says you have a comment on a previous call. So this is another second hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You've been tuned in for the first hour. Which call in particular, and what's the comment?
The last caller with that European vehicle was interested in buying.
It was the Audi, yes. It was had 13,000 miles, and he was concerned about, well, the question was about carbon buildup and about a timing chain at 80,000 miles as the rumor goes.
Well, my first opinion or comment is stay away from European vehicles. I think anyway. But I'll just talk about carbon buildup. If you always change your oil and your fuel pattern spray was perfect, right? Like you did everything perfect and PCV was right and everything. Why would it build up carbon? Like if in a perfect world?
Because, first, all engines, all mechanical and stoves alike that use oil, when the oil gets hot, it turns into vapors. Those vapors, years and years ago, before you were born, and even I, had road draft tubes, and the oil would be piped out of the engine and go into the atmosphere. So in the 60s, and this is one of the I think the best emissions fighter that's ever been developed on an engine for the air, but certainly not for the engine. The oil vapors in the bottom of the oil pan and in the crankcase are, as you know, sucked into the intake manifold, and travel through the plenum chamber into the ports and behind the valves. So you've always got an oil slick there.
What if you were to run the car properly, like say, like a proper freeway run once a week, like not stop driving? Would you burn that off?
No, you can't burn it off because it doesn't go into any place to get burned. It's in the pipes leading to the cylinders. So what goes in the cylinders would burn and go away, but it clutters and coats the pipe. And so it's like the Alaskan pipeline. I mean, which obviously went bad for corrosion. Although it delivers oil, it corroded because of water in it. Likewise, the intake manifold and the ports and the lungs of the engine. That's what it is. The lungs of the engine are polluted with oil vapor. You can't help it.
So you wouldn't think the quality of oil matters?
No. Well, yeah, sure it does, but it doesn't matter because all oil has vapor. When it gets hot, it smokes. So when it reaches a certain, the flash points are different on oil. Normally the flash point's about 200 degrees Celsius.
But you'd think probably the longer the oil change interval would be worse, wouldn't it?
Well, it really, this problem doesn't have much to do with oil change. Certainly an engine that, a person that would drive an engine too long without changing the oil would always have, an owner would always have more issues with all facets of the engine because of neglect. But even in a perfect world, and I won't call myself perfect, long from it, but even in a atmosphere, Frank, where I'm anal about, I look for things that go wrong with my car, and I can find, and I'm so sensitive to that car, I can tell you when a tire is 1/4 of an ounce out of balance or 2/10. Having said that, I still know that my intake manifold has oil in it because I can't get in there to clean it, and that's why I put a chemical in it to clean it every 30,000 miles. Should do it every 15, but I don't.
Well, as you know, I've called about my Camry in the past, and I've never ever done a carbon clean on it. It's got 200,000 kilometres on it.
Right.
So I'm not sure it's in miles.
Well, 60%,
perfect, like new. So I don't know. Is it going to happen?
Yeah, it's going to happen. And when it does, the problem is, and of course, the longer you drive when you first fire the car, the shorter trips will really exacerbate the problem because you don't have time to cook the oil, to cook the water out of the oil, and those sorts of things. But Frank, it's a common problem, and should you ever have to pull the intake manifold off of your vehicle, or you pull an injector and look down in the manifold using a borescope, you'll see there's oil, and you'll see some things that you wouldn't believe. I have pictures that I could send you. Hey, gotta go. As always, love to hear from you in Australia. So have a great day and get some sleep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, what is it, Fabio? 2 o'clock in the morning there? 3? Yeah, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Next is Richard from Oregon. And Richard, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'm anxious to hear your comments about the E4.
A4.
A4, yeah. What did I say? E4?
Right. So the guy called in. I only caught the last end of the conversation about the 2012.
His son's
buying an earlier generation.
His son's buying a 2012 A4 with 13,000 miles on it. And he heard he heard rumors about timing chain issues at 80,000 miles, and also I of course talk about the lung buildup and the carbon buildup inside those cars, and because we see it in our shop. But anyway, I'll turn the mic to you.
Right. So it's interesting on a tangent of the timing chain. I had a 98 A4 that had a timing belt issue, and it was the tensioner that the original ones were not good, not well designed, and come out with a later version and replace it before it explodes and interference. So now my current Audi is a 2007 direct injection. It was the first generation with the direct injection, and it had terrible carbon buildup. I've got a borescope. I've got the pressurized containers to spray the fogging solution in there.
Right.
And it's to really clean it out totally. You got to take the manifold off, and either it's a liquid solution with scrubbing or some type of bead blasting, media blasting to get it really cleaned out.
That's correct.
Now, it's interesting. Right. Now, the other thing that is interesting, the guy that just called from Australia.
Right.
There is a manufacturer, Mann Hummel from Germany. They make an industrial type device. It's called a ProVent, and it's a filter, a true filter that you put into that intake tube that runs from the PVC valve to the manifold.
Okay.
And it is a true cleaner where it's got a cleanable filter or replaceable, and it will catch all that gunk.
Well, does it have a box? So, Richard, does it have a sump, a box? Because if you're drawing vapors, you have to have a place for the accumulative liquid, because that's what happens. The oil vapors go through, so if you're scrubbing the vapors, you're pulling the liquid out of the vapors, so that means you have to have a little box. Have you ever seen one?
I got one on my car, and the ProVent has a tube at the bottom.
Okay.
And I got a bottle hooked up to it, a clear plastic bottle that collects all the gunk. When I see it filling up, I take it out and dump it. And every month or so, I've got 2 filters. I'll take the filter out of the canister, dump it in some, cleaning solution, put my other one in there, let it run for a month. And that tube coming out of the top of the ProVent, it's dry. There is nothing going down back into that intake manifold.
Have you looked in the intake since you put this unit on? And it has to help.
Got a borescope.
But do you have before and after?
I've got a folder full of pictures, histories, And initially, I've gone through a number of these different catch cans, supposedly catch cans
sure.
And it's truly the mist. Those little metal plates with holes in them that most of these catch cans have, they don't catch the mist. They catch some of it. They catch the water, gunky oil, but they don't get all of it. This ProVent is really effective. And on that tangent with the Australian, you Google around enough and you find all this information. Some good, some, questionable.
Right.
But the one blog that I came across, it was dealing with the Toyota diesel four-wheel drive vehicles that are popular in Australia.
Right.
And one guy had the Pro-Vent, and he rigged it to where it's a closed system. Well, I modified mine even further, so it's a truly closed system. The original Pro-Vent, it's got some pressure releases in there in case the crankcase pressure gets too much. It'll vent to atmosphere.
Hey, Richard, let me hold you right there. We've got a break coming up, and we have a lot of other calls, but you stay there, and Bailey and Bob and Lawrence, you guys all stay right there. We're going to get on the other side of this break and come back. This is some good information. As winter comes to an end and spring begins, the Car Care Council reminds you that April is National Car Care Month. Time to get your vehicle ready for spring driving and summer road trips. Here are a few things you should consider. April showers can be hazardous driving conditions with slick, wet roads. It's a great time to make sure your brakes, tires, and windshield wipers are ready for the rain. Talking specifically about your brakes, how can you tell if something's wrong? There are a number of signs. If your brakes are spongy or squealing, or if you can't stop without pumping. Other indicators include your car pulling to one side when stopping, your brake pedal sitting lower than normal, and your brakes requiring excessive pressure or grabbing with the least amount of pressure. Any of these symptoms mean you likely need your brakes inspected. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove box. That's carcare.org. Folks, cold winters can cause batteries to lose their cold cranking amps and ability to start a vehicle. Make sure you have your battery tested and, if needed, replaced with an AGM. AGM batteries maintain more charge over time, better suited for start-stop systems, and if your battery tests low, make sure you check the alternator as well. An extreme cold followed by extreme heat can diminish battery life. Frequently jump-starting your battery or letting a vehicle just sit idle for days at a time can also slowly reduce your battery's power and effectiveness, risking a dead battery. The Bosch S6 high-performance AGM battery is more resilient to the constant demands of start-stop systems and vehicles with high electronic demands. If you're like me, always charging multiple devices, listening to the radio, enjoying all the technology and electronics in your vehicle, upgrading your battery to a Bosch AGM unit is a must-do to keep your vehicle running at its best and ensure you have battery power, always. To find an AGM battery for your vehicle, go to BoschAutoParts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment. We're talking with Richard in Oregon about intake manifold and carbon pollution on intake valves. And this gentleman knows the drill because he has a folder full of pictures using a borescope. So, Richard, you've tried, or you've not tried, you have the Pro-Vent system on your Audi. So my question goes back to, do you have before and after pictures, or did you not clean off what was there before, so you can't really say what it's doing now?
Well, I've tried various methods to really get the intake clean. And right now, there's some gunk that's on the back of the valves, and maybe a tiny bit down at on the bottom of the stems.
Right.
But the only and the car runs great. I mean, I took a trip yesterday, get 36 miles per gallon round trip, and so that's pretty good. And I don't know that having it absolutely clean in there like a brand new set of valves is going to make much of a difference. The car runs great, it gets good miles, good power.
Right.
And so you go as far as you can with this stuff, and then you go, good enough. If, you really want to get it all out of there, the manifold's going to have to come off. Someone's going to have to, solution it or blast it.
Yeah.
And so, and what do you get out of it? I mean, that's not a cheap operation. It's all the labor getting that manifold off and putting it back on. The operation itself to clean the stuff's probably not all that long. So, it's just a matter of, how far do you go and is good enough, and you just
I
go
agree.
on. So
I agree 100%. And the real challenge is how do you, if you're in a shop owner like how do you explain to someone who, number one, doesn't have a clue what that stuff looks like and what it's doing? How do you explain the laborious time? I mean, you're talking 4 or 5 hours, easy. And then you have to do a complete oil and filter change because the solvent that we use, I mean, with a toothbrush and cleaning, you're literally doing a deep clean. So you're right.
Mm-hmm.
We don't sell that because in order to sell it, you're taking the engine apart. So you're begging to disturb a connector that is, how Audis are easy to break on the spark plugs and the connectors, man. So you're begging you're taking a perfectly healthy engine, although it's gunked up, and you're taking it apart. And the owner, if the check engine light comes back on 2 days later, well, it was okay before you did that. So I've elected not to do it, but it is a problem, and you've validated that, and of course you know about it. Hey, I got to go. I got calls, but I sure thank you for your call, and thanks for this Pro Vent. I'm going to look that up.
Yep, go ahead. All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Thank you a lot. Nice gentleman there. Let's go to Texas. Bailey, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby. I have a 99 Nissan Pathfinder with a 3.3 liter with 211,000 miles. Okay. My dad called last weekend, and you helped him discover that it was the trouble code would come in a coil needing change or replaced. And we thank you for that. But after replacing the distributor, all the trouble codes went away. But unfortunately, there's still low power and hesitation. He plans on doing a full compression test and a plug wiring resistance test. The problem began after having a shade tree mechanic allegedly replacing a valve cover gasket. Right. We were wondering if you knew something that we didn't or don't.
Well, I'm not sure that I quite understand. So what you have, you got this engine with 200,000 miles on it. Well, when I think of any engine, Bailey, with 200,000 miles, I think of timing belt or timing chain. Of course, timing belt should have been replaced, even on a Lexus at 100,000, should be replaced twice, and pulleys and those sorts of things. So when I think of an engine that doesn't run correctly, I'm more prone to get into the mechanical issues that have a lot and mostly more to do with a vehicle's not running well than electronic issues. And we get this all the time. We spend a lot of our time and our customers' dollars to pinpoint what causes problems. A lot of times it could be as something as simple as a crank sensor, but you're talking about trying to pinpoint. It's almost to the point sometimes that, well, maybe we should just put a crank sensor on there and try it. But you can't do that because then people bring their car back and say, well, we just put a part on it and I thought that'd fix it, and it didn't. And so you have to spend the time up front before you determine we're going to have to do open hood surgery here, because if somebody comes in with your heart pain, you can't say, you wouldn't go to a doctor and say, hey, do open heart surgery. You do a stress test. So with you, I guess my question, do you know the history, and has this car had timing chain? Because that could be a number one cause of a ill-running or low-powered vehicle, but it would not cause a misfire and probably wouldn't cause a check engine light to come on.
Well, not that I know of. I don't think it has been changed.
Well, let me say this. I like the idea of checking the compression and because you can tune, and I don't use that word. I don't like to use that word because we used to tune engines. You don't tune them anymore, but you can replace plugs and coils and coilovers and PCV systems and clean the intake and what have you. But if you don't have a healthy engine on the inside, it's never going to be fixed on the outside. So when it comes down to it, here's what I would recommend, Bailey. I would recommend you. I think your dad was on board with this. An old-fashioned compression test, and just for you to know, because you sound savvy, a compression test is where you take all of the spark plugs out of the vehicle. Now you can do it electronically with a computer, and with a computer, a savvy ASE master certified technician. In our case, that would be a Johnny Bars. You could take a scan tool and run a compression test, and really and use a scope and a graph, and you'll see the difference in between the cylinders. But there's nothing quite as factual and accurate as an old-fashioned compression test, where you take all the plugs out, you put a compression gauge in and measure the cylinder pressure. And let me share this with you. Here's the main important point, and then we'll move on. When a compression test is performed, you could take an engine that has poor compression and screw a gauge in it and hit the key on the starter and go yang 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 yang, and if you did it long enough, you'd finally get to the number. That's really great. Well, unfortunately, your engine doesn't have time to go yang yang yang. It has to catch it with each stroke. So, the first turnover of a compression stroke should be somewhere between 40 and 75 psi. And the reason it's low is because you don't know on the plug of the cylinder that you've got the compression gauge in, you don't know if that piston's halfway up or all the way up or where it is. So the first stroke doesn't count, that first turnover of the engine. But it should be 40 to 75. And then the second one should be 100, and then bump, bump, bump. And by the no more than 6 turnovers, 6 revolutions of the engine, you should get your compression power stroke, and that's going to be probably 150 plus or minus 20%. So, and you could get 180, but 135 would be like the floor. And here's the important thing: you check one cylinder, then you check the other cylinders, and you compare. And if you got one weaker in there, one weak one, then no wonder the engine's idling rough. And if they're all low, like they're all 135, which I would consider low for any engine, except for some turbos, 135, then your timing chain or timing belt, and usually a chain is the type that gives this problem, because a belt doesn't retard the timing as significantly as a chain does, because each chain has each link, and when you get a multiple of wears, then overall the cam is retarded, and a retarded camshaft will cause loss of power and lower compression. And to that end, Mercedes with their timing chain in their 450 engines and 350s and 560 engines, said after 15,000 kilometers you should bump the passenger's cam up 2 degrees, because the chain is longer to get there. It's the same chain, but the stretch factor means that the passenger's cam on the right side of the V8 engine is going to be retarded, and you got to bump it 2 degrees, and Mercedes offers 2-degree keyways. But anyway, that's about all you need. Go ahead, your time.
I'm just saying thank you for your time, and I appreciate that.
Okay. You are more than welcome. Where do you live in Texas, Bailey?
In Tyler, Texas.
In Tyler. Well, we have a great station there, and we have a lot of listeners, and I sure thank you for your call. And when you get to the next lily pad, when you get to the next repair point, and you've got it fixed, or you have another question, please call me.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There's an intelligent young person there. We'll find out. Let's go to Bob, and then we're going to go to Lawrence. And your calls, plenty of time. Gosh, 888-227-2546. Bob, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Mr. Likis.
Bobby.
Just a shout out to you. Met you in Pensacola back in the 80s. Very well respected.
Thank you.
Wanted to get hired by you, but you didn't want to pay me enough, so.
Good. Well, what can I do for you
hung out
today?
with Bob at the airport and Mercedes, Volvo. Anyhow, I want to thank you so much for recommending K-Seal, because I've done 2 heater cores in my 04 Ram, and I'm tired of pulling the dash out.
I hear you.
And that fixed it.
So you had, what was it, a Dodge Ram with a heater core leak, and you used K-Seal?
Yeah, 2500 turbo Cummins.
Oh, wow. That's a monster of a vehicle. Well,
I've done it twice because I got 365,000 miles on it.
Wow. Well, I sure thank you for calling me, and if you ever get this way again, drop by. I'll show you and tour you the studio. And yes, K-Seal works. So we use it, and especially in those cases, Bob, and you know this, where you've got a car that to take the engine, like you got a head gasket problem, it takes more money to repair the engine on a head gasket, and then you never know if there's not piston damage and ring damage and cylinder wall damage, caused by the head gasket because the driver drove the vehicle too far and it got overheated, which is why the head gasket blew to start with. So it's a great first step, and I continue to be amazed with K-Seal at how it's the last step, and that's a good thing. And I have to step away from the mic because it's time for a break. I'll be back. Don't touch that dial. Like us, you're going to love us. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have spare money for them. When a heater core starts to fail, it can be costly depending on location, maybe $1,000 even. When a heater core leaks, it usually comes on gradually with a smell of coolant and a film on the glass that keeps returning. Common leaks are the glued seals on the plastic tanks. This represents a perfect opportunity to use K-Seal, as it can be poured into the cooling system and driven right away. And K-Seal remains in the system, so it can prevent future leaks as well. We recently used K-Seal on a Honda to stop a heater core leak. We never experienced the smell of coolant, but we had to regularly clean the inside windshield glass to remove that film. It doesn't take more than a few drops from a leaking heater core to cause an unsafe film on the glass. After using K-Seal, it stopped. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and get more information at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your hosts, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by Optimal Batteries. Folks, Optimal Batteries are up to 15 times more vibration resistant than traditional flooded batteries. Optimal Batteries, the ultimate power source? Absolutely. You can learn more at optimalbatteries.com. Now let's go to Texas, take a call from Lawrence, and Hannah will take your calls at 888-227-2546. Lawrence, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
All right, thank you both for taking my call. I called you a couple of weeks ago about my Nissan Versa. I had it had to do with my heater. When I turned my heater on, my window would fog up, so I took it to the Nissan place here in Longview.
Right.
And they couldn't find anything wrong.
Okay.
And so I was wondering if it could be maybe something not opening up or something like that. He said, but people complain about their those little cars with the smelling the antifreeze. But they told me I could bring it back. So if I had the problem, and I called Detroit, and they said that they didn't have any recalls on anything about the car. So I was just trying to see maybe if you knew anything else it might could be causing that problem.
Let me refresh my memory. You have a windshield mist on the inside of the vehicle?
Yeah, what happens when it's real cold and I turn my heater on, my window fogs up. I have to keep it on defrost.
Okay.
And that's what I was telling them, that it shouldn't be, that I shouldn't have to keep my heater on defrost, that I need to use my heater. It should still keep the car warm without the window fogging up.
Okay. Now
what? So they say they took it out and they couldn't find anything wrong.
Okay. You said when it was real cold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now if it's kind of cold, but it's not real cold, right, I can turn the heater on and it won't fog up.
Okay. So Lawrence, let me explain what I think, as you were explaining, could be the issue with this vehicle.
Okay.
In all circumstances, when you turn a defroster on, now let me ask a question. When you turn a defroster on, does it clear up and go away?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you turn a heater on, of course, the air conditioning system does not come on, for obvious reasons, because you're not wanting to get cold, you're wanting to get warm.
Yeah.
Having said that, the air conditioner would not be on in the heater, but you just answered my question. I'm getting ahead of myself. So here's the bottom line. When you turn the defroster on, even in the dead of winter, the air conditioner comes on because the air conditioner dehumidifies the inside of the car. That's what it does. It takes the heat away, but it also takes the moisture away. That's what air conditioning systems do. That's why 80 degrees in Florida with 90% humidity feels a lot hotter than 80 degrees than 105 degrees in Nevada with 38% humidity. Having said that, you just said that when you put the defroster on, it cleared the windshield up. So when you clear the windshield up, you can turn the heater back on. That it should stay cleared, because that initial moisture could be in the evaporator core itself or in the car itself. But when you turn the heater on, that air, now even that notwithstanding, and here's where I was going. I'd really have to have your car and experience exactly what your when yours. If it's really cold outside and you turn the defroster on, let's say it's 30 degrees, okay? Well, friends in New York, that's not cold, but let's just say it's 15 degrees and you turn the defroster on. For the most part, there's a thermistor, there's a sensor that says, wait a minute, it's too cold for the air conditioning system to add insult to injury. We're not going to make the air conditioning system, we're not going to allow the compressor to come on, and so it will block the compressor from coming on. Cars have had these systems for years. In fact, Ford Motor Company, and I know because I work with them, Ford Motor Company had problems with these sensors that were programmed or manufactured so that any time the car was in 35 degree Fahrenheit or low or below cold weather, the air conditioner compressor would not come on. So sometimes in the dead of summer, that sensor would go bad and it would interrupt the air conditioner power. I mean, the power to the compressor. So with you and your automobile, if you're having an excessive amount of vapors, there are two things that can cause that. Well, there's moisture that can cause that. So maybe the car's got a water leak somewhere. I mean, did you ask him if they had any other complaints from any other Versa owners?
No, they told me that they had, others did have that complaint.
They do have that complaint?
Yeah, they had that complaint of smelling the antifreeze and couldn't find out, where it was coming from. It wasn't leaking or anything.
Well, you smell antifreeze? Do you smell antifreeze too?
Sometimes I do, but when I get outside the car. It's not inside the car, it's just when I get outside the car.
Oh, that shouldn't happen. If you have a leak, you have a leak, and I know this because I have specifically had with my car water pump problems. In fact, I even this week wrote a commercial spot about the water pump, because the water pump that came on my car from the factory was replaced at 6,400 miles because it was supposedly updated because of a manufacturing design change. Well, lo and behold, 43,000 miles later, at 49,000 and some change, the water pump started making noise. So I replaced the water pump with a factory water pump. 2 months later or 2 weeks later, I smelled coolant. Well, sure enough, it didn't drain on my garage floor, but you could smell it when you got out of the car. So in the last 3 weeks, I've replaced it with a third design water pump, and finally the whole wide world of the whole World Wide Web caught up, and you can Google this same vehicle and you can see the difference in the water pump. And now that I've got the old pump and the new one, I see the difference. The bottom line, my car is a 13 model. The pump's was made in 2010, the design, and they only changed it in 2017, late 17 or early 18. So it had a 7-year run. They must have made 1 million of those things, and they never came out with a replacement pump redesigned until they sold all the old ones, and I happened to get one of the old ones. And so that's the end of my story. But the bottom line is, you probably have a similar situation, and time will tell. Unfortunately, you're kind of stuck in the middle. I don't know how to tell you to fix it, because it's not something that you should have to fix. But I would camp on the dealer's doorstep until they made that smell go away. And if I had to leave my car there for 2 or 3 days, maybe they'll loan you a car. I would think they might. I won't speak for them, but I definitely would if you smell coolant, you've got a leak somewhere, because there's nothing like it, that vapor that comes out. And then last but not least, Lawrence, if you'll take a flashlight, is this car garaged?
No.
Okay, then at nighttime, if you put it in your carport at nighttime with no lights on, and take a small flashlight and look at every cooling system area that you can see, and look at the block, you will see evidence. And don't look for the coolant, look for a ring around the collar. Look for where something has, just like if you sprayed Windex on a glass, but don't wipe it off, and you come back in 5 minutes, you're going to see a big blotch there, right? That's ring around the collar. Right. So don't look for coolant on the driveway, because I didn't have any, but you look for that coagulated, in my case, it was a red coagulated blotch on the center plate of my water pump, and I could see it. And once I found it, I lived with it until I could get another pump that I knew was upgraded. And so, so that's what I would do. Okay.
Okay.
All right, my friend. Good luck.
All right. Thank you so.
You're welcome so much. And folks, it's ironic that I would have this problem with my car, and of course, I didn't cause that. It's not because I'm anal about it. It's because it had a leak. But I just will tell you that once you become really like the gentleman that called about the ProVent system on his Audi from Oregon, once you know the car that you drive, and here's the point, and this is why this is important. You know more about the car that you drive, not technically, about its nature, its characteristics, than any technician. Why? Because you've been with that car 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 miles. You know when it doesn't start right. You know when the starter sounds a little funky. You know when the brakes vibrate or shake or rattle. I mean, you know because you've been driving the car. Now, the question is, how long do you put up with a problem? And therein lies the difference between a good car taker and a not so good car owner. When you know there's a problem, if there's a one rattle, take it in and get it fixed. If you wait till you have 10 rattles, you take it in, the technician's going to say, well, which one you want to fix? I don't know, I want to stop the rattle. Well, you should have stopped the one when it happened. Same thing for coolant leaks, oil leaks, and those sorts of things. Get your car checked out, and this should be, we perform a digital inspection on every vehicle that comes into our service shop. I want to share one last thing with you, and then I'm going to go to New York and take a call from Stephanie. I received from another state an email this week from Harry Heislop. And Harry, I've never met him, but we've been friends for 20 years. Since I've been on the radio, he's been sending me information. Well, this week, he sent me an information on the latest article on 95 octane gasoline. Of course, the first thing on my mind was thinking about horsepower. And the article that he sent had to do with the OEMs could design engines with more power if there weren't multiple different grades of fuel, and they were all 95 octane. And this is true. This is absolutely true. And to that end, Super Chips designs a tuner, and I told him about this, and he was blown away. 116 horsepower on a Ford EcoBoost without opening the hood. Unbelievable. Shows you how much, even if you don't drive the EcoBoost, if you drive a GM, a Ford, a Jeep, or a Chrysler, there's untapped torque, horsepower, and mileage, MPG, that you can use the Super Chips tuner to extract from your engine. And you can do it by plugging it into the port. It's really neat. You go to superchips.com and check it out. And if you see that article about the 95 octane gasoline and about the OEMs considering having, and would love to have 1 octane, they would. Why? Because they wouldn't have to build so many different engines for so many different brands of gasoline, because we as consumers are going to tend to buy the least expensive gasoline, and that's not always the best. Let's go to New York. Stephanie, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, Bobby.
Hi.
Okay, really quick. I have a 2016 Dodge Caravan. We bought hoping it would be our retirement car.
Okay.
We bought it at 22,000 miles from a dealer, and we have an electrical issue. We'll be driving, could be slow. It doesn't even have to be driving. It's done it in park. Slow, fast, rainy, dry, snowy, whatever. And all of a sudden, the windshield wipers will come on and go on twice. There's a little like lightning sign on that little readout.
Right.
Everything goes to 0.
Mm-hmm.
When we first started talking to them about it, they're like, well, we have no idea what that is. So we got it on our GoPro, stuck it on, we got our GoPro, stuck it on,
cool.
and showed them.
That's great.
Well, because we're desperate for this car to last us for a while.
Okay, here's what I think, Stephanie. I believe, in the interest of time, I believe that you have a poor ground that it can be very difficult to locate, and that ground is affecting the BCM, which is the body control module, because the BCM controls the functions that you captured on your GoPro. Funny you should think about that, because I was thinking about putting a GoPro on my own car because I have a suspension problem, but I won't go there right now. I don't have the time. But so that I could watch what it does, because I know I can feel it driving the car. So you know this because you experienced driving a vehicle. Of course, by the time you get to the shop, it's all fixed, or at least it goes away. I really seriously believe that there's going to be a ground issue or a body control module issue or a combination of both. And what I would do is I would, gosh, is this under warranty or not?
Well, that's just it. It was under warranty, but we're at that point where we've had it in 3 times, and they're just like, we can't figure out what it is. We drive it, but we can't figure out what it is. But I'm not sure what to do. They're like, okay, you've only got a few more miles until right now it's actually in the shop again.
Okay. Well, stay. I'm out of time here, Stephanie. But call me earlier next week. But I stay with the dealer. You know it's happening, and there's no way that you should get an extension of the warranty relative to that particular. Now they don't have the authority to do that, but the service manager can look you in the eye and he says, I know you have this problem. I see that you have this problem. We're going to take care of you, even if it's out of warranty, up to another, say, year. Try to get a year bumper on this. Tell them Bobby Likis said so, for what good that does. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'd love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Today's question, what makes up your engine's cooling system? The cooling system is a part of the engine that regulates engine temperature and helps prevent breakdown from overheating. A typical cooling system is comprised of the engine's water jacket, a thermostat to regulate flow, a water pump, a radiator that exchanges the heat to the outside air, and the connecting hoses and tubes. The cooling system is designed to remove excess heat to keep the inside of the engine at an efficient operating temperature, approximately 201 degrees Fahrenheit. The cooling system has one major purpose, to ensure that the circulation of the coolant inside the engine can absorb and release heat. The proper mixture of coolant coupled with a high-quality thermostat are critical to cooling system operation. Motorrad offers the best coverage of thermostats and closure caps in the world for virtually any vehicle, on the road or off, leading the way in coverage and service. For more details, go to motorradusa.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.